What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joe Hatagwa from Authentic African. And if you want to know about what crazy news I got this morning, then this is the video for you. All right. We are live. We're live on all platforms. We're live on Instagram. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and first of all, it's been a while since I've asked you guys to do this, but if you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up and hit that like button. Give me a thumbs up, hit that like button, and comment where you're watching from. Comment where you're watching from, and if you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, and comment where you are watching from. This is a crazy day so far, so I got to give you guys this update. But I just want to know that you guys can hear me first of all. So again, give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. There's a bunch of you joining. Nobody giving me the thumbs up yet. So can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Jude K can hear me. Okay, you guys can hear me on YouTube. That's great. Can you guys hear me on Facebook? Can you hear me on Instagram? Can you hear me on where are we else? The other YouTube channels. Let me know. Okay. Shout out to Tony. All right, you guys, you can hear me on Instagram too. All right, cool. So let me kind of walk you through. Okay, I'll start at the beginning. Sometime last week, I got a message from my co-host on African Stream that there were some things coming in the some things were coming, and that we were going to have to pause the African Stream live stream every week, where we talk about what's happening in Africa every week. So you guys might know we go live every week talking about what news is happening on the continent of Africa, right? We talk about it. We basically will do a news story, watch a video on it, and then we discuss it. And Inem Richardson had been the co-host. She's based in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. She works for a company called African Stream, and African Stream would actually do the live stream with me. And so I want to just read to you something here because I think it kind of encapsulates where we are right now. So the African Stream YouTube channel has been shut down, which has raised concerns and discussions among its viewers. The channel is part of a Pan-African digital media organization focused on giving a voice to Africans across social media platforms. The shutdown appears to be linked to broader issues of content regulation and censorship on YouTube. Similar instances have been reported where channels or videos are taken down due to quote-unquote violations to community guidelines or copyright issues, which can include content deemed inappropriate or sensitive. In recent discussion, viewers expressed frustration over the inconsistency of YouTube's enforcement of its policies, noting that educational content about cultural practices can be censored while other types of content remain accessible. The situation highlights ongoing debates about freedom of expression and the portrayal of African narratives in digital media. Now, I think this is shocking. We obviously were going to pause our live streams, which is every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it looks like we're definitely or indefinitely are going to have to pause any content on YouTube with African Stream because their channel is no longer there. They had over 300,000 subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. They had done a pretty substantial job of building a platform, and just like that, boom, it's gone. And so that would mean, obviously, that I am unable to go live with them weekly on YouTube. We have discussed whether or not we will potentially continue to go live on other platforms, but as of right now, going live on YouTube is obviously out of the question. Now, there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about because this is something that it's been kind of creeping, ongoing. And I do think that there are some, causes for concern because although they would take stances on things, they were reporting news, verifiable people on the ground in almost every news story that they were reporting on. I mean, in some cases, of course, like other news stations do, they report on other people's news, right? Other people do the breaking news. Some other people do follow on reporting. They always mention they couldn't independently verify certain things. If they couldn't, they would mention it if something was alleged, and they would also make sure that they were clear that you know we have the authority to speak on this if, in fact, it was something that they were investigating themselves with people on the ground. Unfortunately, YouTube took the route of censoring them and removing them from the platform completely. And so that is the update there. Um, Now, the US government and Voice of America have had some challenges with African Stream as of recent. So I'm going to walk you through some of the stories and some of the things that have been happening because many of you may not be aware. And I realize that many may not be aware because I've been getting comments like, what's happening with African Stream? What happened? And I can't find their content. Well, because it's gone. And who knows if I am going to also end up in that same position. As of right now, I haven't gotten any warnings. I haven't been told otherwise. I also don't do solely the content that they do in terms of reporting on the news. And maybe my platform just hasn't been big enough for it to reach the radar of those folks. But a couple of things. So there are a few key points regarding Voice of America and the U.S. government comments on African Stream. So number one, Voice of America published a quote-unquote fact-check video criticizing African Stream's portrayal of U.S. military operations in Somalia. The VOA video claimed that African Stream had quote-unquote distorted the U.S. role in combating al-Shabaab in Somalia, end quote. So specifically, Voice of Africa disputed African Stream's claim that U.S. drone strikes in Somalia indiscriminately targeted civilians. VOA stated that U.S. conducts drone strikes to protect civilians from terrorist groups like al-Shabaab. So VOA noted that African Stream was founded by Ahmed Kabalo, and he is a former contributor to an Iranian state-owned press TV news outlet. And so I do think that because he has that background as a contributor to what is generally considered an enemy to the United States, they are going to pay very close attention to the things that he's saying. And I think they may be hypersensitive to what's being discussed on their platform. Now, African Stream did publish a response to Voice of Africa's criticism, characterizing VOA as a U.S. government outlet and suggesting its fact check should be viewed as coming from the U.S. government's perspective. African Stream describes itself as an anti-war and anti-imperialist media organization, which obviously is based in Nairobi, Kenya. If you guys weren't aware, that's where they're based. The U.S. government, through VOA, appears to take issue with African Stream's portrayal of the U.S. military operations in Africa, particularly regarding civilian casualties and overall mission objectives. Now, it's worth noting that this represents an ongoing disagreement between African Stream and U.S. government-affiliated media over the framing of reporting of U.S. military activities in Africa, particularly Somalia. So this isn't the first, and it probably won't be the last time they will be running into issues with the U.S. government, especially with the election being less than 2 months away. Now, this situation was a bit shocking to me because I know they go through everything they can to ensure that they are, like I said, if it's alleged, saying it's alleged. If they didn't report it, saying that we haven't been independently able to verify. They do a significant amount of things to ensure that they meet the rules of journalism. And unfortunately, you know, different folks, YouTube, Potentially the U.S. government, potentially definitely Voice of Africa saw otherwise. So I want to go into that response because basically it was when I read about it and I said to myself, um, why are they targeting them in particular in terms of Voice of Africa when there are so many channels out there that are spreading misinformation? Um, but I guess for them, they saw this as a serious threat to American diplomacy, democracy, I guess. And so let me first say, kind of walk you through. So I'll actually share my screen so you guys can see this because I think it is important to kind of show you this on a so you can see the screen. Let's see. 1 second, give me a second, guys. I'm just gonna pull it up here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I hope you guys can see this. Okay, so here is what African Stream said. So when U.S. state-funded Voice of America wrote a smear piece attacking African Stream titled "African Stream Distorts U.S. Military Mission in Somalia," end quote. We took it as a great. This is African Stream talking. We took it as a great compliment that our work is touching the right buttons and getting the attention of media outlets who receive funding from the world's greatest superpower. They go on to say Voice of America might as well be called Voice of the U.S. government, as it is funded by global media, USAGM, which gets its funding directly from U.S. Congress. It is also funded directly from former U.S. President Gerald Ford. Their piece had an issue with African Stream's claim that it is now a bipartisan tradition for each new U.S. president, whether Republican or Democrat, to rain drone bombs down on the East African country in which, unfortunately, millions of civilians are simply struggling to survive. They claimed it as false. And of course, African Stream said in typical fashion, they never explained that this was false, what was false about what they had said. And nowhere in the VOA article do they deny the last four US presidents, namely George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden, oversaw the continued and sustained drone bombing in Somalia. African Stream says they were not given a chance to respond to the accusation that they were distorting the role of the U.S. military in Somalia. So what they said is, in the spirit of transparency, they decided to lay everything out there. The facts about Washington's role in Somalia's unending insecurity crisis and the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, and some hard truths about what they call so-called war on terror in Africa. So here we go. So let's go through some of this. So the response of America, a response to Voice of America. On Wednesday, 28th of August, U.S.-funded media wrote this: African Stream discourse U.S. military. They then republished a piece of video format on the 30th of August under the same title. They didn't reach out to them for comment. So here is what the article was and their response. So as you can see, African Stream distorts U.S. military's mission in Somalia. That's the article from Voice of Africa on the 28th of August. Now, so what they did is they did a fact check, right? So it is now bipartisan tradition of each U.S. president, whether Republican or Democrat. Okay. Now, this particular line, it is now a bipartisan tradition for each new U.S. president, whether Republican or Democrat, to rain drone bombs down on the East African country in which millions of civilians are simply struggling to survive. So they said it was false, and they said in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, residents live in fear of deadly attacks carried out by Al-Qaeda affiliate Al-Shabaab terrorist group. Its latest attack killed 32 people, wounded 63 in the beach motel of Mogadishu on August 3rd. But African Stream, a popular online publication registered in the UK as owned by Ahmad Kaballo, a former contributor of what they say here is Iranian state-owned Press TV, distorted the U.S. role in combating Al-Shabaab in Somalia. In a recent post on X, the African Stream platform shared a collage showing former American presidents, Bush Republican, Obama Democrat, with the caption reading, USA partisan bombing of Somalia. In a comment on the poster, African Stream said that for Africa, there is no difference which of the two contenders, Republican Donald Trump or Democrat Kamala Harris, wins in 2024 election in the United States. It is now bipartisan tradition, right? That's and so this is what they said. So Voice of Africa said that is false. They said the U.S. conducts drone strikes in Somalia to protect civilians from the terrorists. Groups such as Al Shabaab terrorize communities and entire regions, systemically targeting, killing, and harming scores of civilians. Created in 2006, Al Shabaab, the group is responsible for, blah, 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 blah. In two attacks, Kenya in 2013, the group's militants massacred 217 people. Now, to be clear, African Stream never denied, from what I saw, Al Shabaab's violence and what they're doing in Somalia. In fact, they denounced it on many occasions, as they always do, these militant groups, right? Um, so the person who wrote the article is Priscilla Mines. So in the same way, I guess they did that with Ahmad. They decided to say, okay, who was the person who wrote this article? So I don't know. They suspected the pseudonym because there's no digital footprint for Priscilla Mines online. The name only appears on the VOA website. So they suspect it is Purity Wambia who wrote the article. She has a digital footprint and pictures online, and she uses her public platforms to boast about speaking at the U.S. Senate State Department in Washington. She writes weekly pieces for VOA, usually defending the U.S. State Department's decision. She initially listed the article as produced by Purity, but then deleted it, as shown in the screenshots attached at the bottom. Increasingly, no article from Purity is listed on the week of the 27th, 2024. The last smear piece she wrote against their colleague, David, received a comprehensive response from him, which was very enjoyable to read. We suspect she didn't want to go through that again, especially as she's from Kenya, where African Stream operates. So they said, for the sake of our response, we will use her preferred name, and they responded to her. So you guys can go on to read the response. It's a lot longer. I'm not going to go through and read it, but I think it's really important to check this out on their Instagram page. I will send you guys a link to the post if you want to check it out. But yeah, it's a really, really interesting situation that they've been put in because they no longer have a YouTube channel. So that's the situation as it stands. So a couple comments from folks. Let's see what you guys are saying. Well, first of all, Awele says, good evening from the UK. Can hear you clearly. Nice. Jared Campbell says, checking in from NYC, Joe. Long time no see. Roman says, watching from Texas. This is terrible to hear. I just recently subscribed to African Stream. Very few unbiased or Western affected African news journalism. Yes, that is true. So this is unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? I mean, when you step into this space and you have these kinds of conversations, you do open yourself up to that potential, right? And you do also need to know that this is a possibility of what can happen to you if you decide to speak out against, companies and or countries that have a lot of power, right? And if you say anything that they do not agree with, you may end up in a situation where your livelihood can be taken away. And I am a person who doesn't. I'm a believer in free speech, but you're not free from consequences, right? And so we all have to take these things into consideration. Unfortunately for you all, that means that it changes a bit of the kind of content that we'll be doing on the platform. I really wanted to continue to do these news stories with African Stream, but I no longer can do that at this point in time. So tomorrow's live stream that we were planning to schedule is now postponed indefinitely because of this. So, weekly, that's what we were doing, right? We were going through the news stories of the day in Africa, reaching at this point in total viewership of the live streams that we've done, reaching over 100,000 people or 100,000 views at least through these videos. And that's just really on African Stream's platform. If you combine all the platforms, more like 130, 140,000 total viewership over time. And so, unfortunately, that's the case, right? African Stream is no more on YouTube. It's gone. It's just completely gone. If you do a search for African Stream on YouTube, you will not find them because they no longer exist there. And we don't know how long their Instagram page will be around. I've mentioned to you all on many occasions that my Instagram page has limited capabilities. I'm unable to go live from my YouTube channel, and I believe a good amount of the reason for that um, is this issue here is that censorship, banning, et cetera, is happening at an all-time high. And look, you as a platform, meaning all of these social media platforms, have the ability to make those decisions, and that is totally up to them. They do not have to allow anybody to do anything on their platforms if they don't want. They're private for-profit institutions, or if they could be publicly traded, but they're for-profit institutions, and they can make those decisions. And so that is just, unfortunately, African Stream has now become a victim of this. I've seen this in other areas where I thought it could be a little bit more detrimental in terms of the content people were putting out, so I understood it. But in this case, I really felt like they were doing a service and really helping people. And unfortunately, based on the responses from the platforms, they disagree. Any other thoughts from you guys? I'd love to hear from you all. I'm going to see if there's any other updates that I can share with you. Um, but it was pretty crazy to get that message from them to tell me, like, look, guys, look, Joe, we're not going live this week. Crazy. Let's see if they actually put something out on Instagram about it. They didn't. They didn't put anything out on Instagram about it. But yeah, that's the situation. So that's the update I wanted to give. Okay, so Tiggy's here. What's up, Tiggy? Said, do either of you have Patreon platform where there's private membership? So they do. So yes, that's a good question. So I do have a Patreon platform right now. I am using it. If you guys just want to donate like $1 a month, you can sign up for the Patreon. And that link is going to be in the description of this video. So you can just go there, go to the Patreon. If you want to support the channel for $1 per month, you can do that. And we'll continue to be giving content as much as possible. And we are looking to start doing exclusive content there. There is a possibility I will do some content behind a paywall with somebody like African Stream. There is a possibility. Only time will tell if we actually get to that point. As of right now, um, they've decided, you know, they're going to continue to do posting, but live streams may not continue to happen in this way. So yeah, I mean, and look, if you're a fan of free speech, which I know, people are, people tend to be, uh, generally, right? If you grew up in the United States, uh, this is a problem, right? But again, freedom of speech is not freedom of consequences, and also, freedom of speech is on a government level. Businesses are allowed to do whatever they want. So although I'd love to see African Stream come back and not have even been taken off the platforms, I also understand that every business has the opportunity to do whatever they'd like to do. And it's detrimental, obviously, to my platform because I was getting subscribers from there, and I felt like we were able to share knowledge with folks. I really was excited to go live every week with them to go through the stories of the day, especially ones where I hadn't been following as closely, but because they're reporting on these stories every single day, Enem had a wealth of knowledge to share. I mean, and she does have a wealth of knowledge to share. I mean, if you've listened to any of those live streams, you'll hear that she knows so much. At just 24 years old, she's really spent a significant amount of time reading and reporting on the major news of the day, and she's very well versed on a number of different things: African history, Pan African history, capitalism, and all things related to really getting Africa to its rightful place on the world stage. You also mentioned consider Discord. Yes, I think that's somewhere else too interesting. Yes, I think one of the things is, though, if you want to grow your platform, social media platforms are great for that because they have so many followers across the board and across the world for other channels. And sometimes those folks go to those platforms and end up finding you. If you take yourself to a smaller platform, you're going to have to try to bring that audience with you and or develop an audience on those platforms if they have ways for people to find it. Um, So Kenneth is saying the U.S. is losing the media narrative in the collective South due to channels like African Stream. I mean, I would say I agree with that statement. I think that the mainstream news outlets are having a hard time keeping up with more private news outlets, right? I actually don't watch, uh, let's say, CNN or MSNBC or Fox. Those platforms I really don't watch much of unless there's a news story that comes out of people being on those platforms. In general, I follow platforms like African Stream, like Red Stream, which I know, there's been some controversy around Red Stream's funding and where they are and what they do. And then I also follow so like African Stream, Red Stream. Shaka Bars always puts out good information. And then of course on the other side of things, like as far as the U.S. is concerned, I spend a lot of time checking out like pages like Breaking Points and others, where you have folks on either side of the aisle giving their viewpoints on the news of the day, and that was always helpful for me to keep up to speed with what's happening here in the States, even when I was away. Um, and so now what you have is censorship on certain platforms based on concerns. Do we think that they were asked to be removed by YouTube because they got a call from you know the DOJ or a congressperson? Possibly. Will we ever know? No. So yeah, I mean it's it's pretty wild. I mean it was a weird day to wake up to because I was gonna prep for it as for tomorrow, and I had a completely different plan about what I was gonna talk to about on live stream today, but that is now changing. So as of right now, you can expect that it's unlikely that we'll be seeing Enem Richardson on this platform for quite some time. Right now, it's indefinite. And so hopefully we'll be able to bring her back maybe in a different capacity to come and talk about different things over time. Or maybe we'll be able to come back and be more regular on the live stream. But until then, don't expect to see her on the platform regularly anytime in the next few weeks. Anything else? Anything can change over time, but as of right now, that is how it stands. Any other questions or comments before we end this thing? Obviously this is a short one, 30 minutes. And if anybody comes up with anything that's that we want to talk about, I'm definitely um, down to do more. So Kenneth says, I'll miss Inem so much. She's my favorite guest. Yeah, it does suck that we won't be able to have those weekly discussions. And what you guys don't know is before going live on our live streams and after our live streams, Inem and I would have conversations about a number of different things. The world, we would talk about what's happening in the world, U.S. politics, things that we just didn't necessarily want to talk about on this platform because we want to stick to what's happening in Africa. But yeah, so those are always great conversation, enlightening, interesting, all of the above. And unfortunately, we are we're not sure we will be able to get back to those again. Obviously she's a colleague of mine technically in this space, and so I'll continue to stay in contact with her. But there was an assigned time twice weekly where we would be talking, and so in those discussions we could get nuanced viewpoints on different things from her perspective, from my perspective. We didn't always agree on everything, but there wasn't much we didn't agree on. And well, I don't want to say there wasn't much we didn't agree on because I don't know how you guys are all, platforms, YouTube and all, are going to take that and and run with it. But generally, we had a lot of overlapping viewpoints on things, and it's unfortunate to see that we no longer have that voice on the platform, at the very least for the foreseeable future. So, anything else? Anyone else have anything to add or to discuss here on the platform? This is a blow to all of us who have been following them. They are still on X or Twitter. They are still on. You know what? Here's what I'll do. Just in the spirit of mentioning African Stream and for you guys to go check them out on all their platforms, I'm gonna put in the chat a link to their other social media platforms. So let me go find my last live stream I did with them and just grab it from here. Here we go. All right. Before I do though, Joanna says, let us know where we can follow African Stream. I'll pay a subscription if necessary. Nice. Well, here, I'm sending it to you right now in the chat, and it's also going to be in the description of this video. There we go. Yeah, it'll also be in the description of the video. I'll put them in the description because I don't know. It looks like it maybe didn't come through really easily in the chat, and I don't know if you can click on the chat anyway. So here's what I'll do. I'm editing the YouTube video right now. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, if you're watching the YouTube live stream, or even if you're watching elsewhere, after this live stream ends, you can go over to my YouTube channel and you'll be able to find their details in the description. So I'm just putting it here. There we go. Subscribe to African Stream. There we go. But yeah, it's unfortunate that this happened, but you know, you win some, you lose some, and you know they're gonna be okay for sure. You'll just have to find them in other places. All right, let's see if there are new comments from folks. Will Inem come to your channel to discuss what happened herself? Possibly. I had thought about that, but it was so last minute. I'm not sure she was available to do that. But maybe we can have her come on board and talk about it. Because it might be good for her to give a first-hand account of what's happened and how she sees what's happening. She said, will they come back? OD99 says, will they come back under another name? I don't know, because their brand name is African Stream. And it's not like they're like a Russian bot farm or a troll farm where you change your name, you come back. They may want to keep their name. I mean, it's a news outlet, and they built a brand around it. I'm not too sure they want to come back under something different. Also, I'm not too sure if they tried to, it'd be so easy anyway, right? Coming back, I mean, you'd have to do a whole new branding, and then it's just because you were removed from YouTube, doesn't mean that you're removed from all the other platforms. So, but you never know. If it ends up being a situation where it's untenable, then who knows if they'll do that. But as far as I understand right now, they're African Stream, and they will continue to be African Stream. Well, says, keep collaborating. Don't let this the so-called VOA break your stride. I appreciate it. Maureen Ed said, what happened? Maureen, I think you're going to have to go back and watch the early part of the stream. I went through it in detail, what happened. I woke up this morning, got a message from African Stream, and, it really was a wild one. So, yeah, I definitely say just if you're watching on YouTube, you can just grab the cursor and just slide it back to early part of the stream, and you'll be able to watch. I guess it's this way for you guys. So just slide it back to the early part of the stream, like right about there, and just let it play, and you can just watch all the way through to the end. Joanna says, you are an invaluable resource. We appreciate your content. Thank you for introducing us to African Stream. Well, thank you, Joanna. I appreciate it. I think this is your first time commenting, right? And so, I appreciate you being here and joining us. And I'm glad I was able to, introduce you guys to African Stream. They had a much bigger platform than I did. So, introducing you guys to them has been great, but they've also introduced a bunch of you folks to me. And so, it's definitely been a synergistic, relationship. They have tons of knowledge. They don't back down. And, in some cases, I guess I can get you in trouble. So let this be a lesson to all of you. Make sure that in your world of, your everyday lives, you weigh the consequences of the things that you say, and you guys can decide if you want to say those things or not. You know, Israel says we're just getting off work. I hope all is well. All is okay. Yeah, just some major changes. So what I would say is, Israel, whenever you get a chance, since you're watching on the live stream, hit that little cursor, the red cursor at the bottom, and just slide it back to the beginning so you can actually maybe start the live stream from earlier in the stream to kind of catch up on what we talked about since you jumped in a little bit late. But basically, the basic gist of it is African Stream is kicked off of YouTube, and we will not be going live with African Stream indefinitely. It can come back next year, it can come back 2 weeks, but as of right now, it's indefinite, and we don't know if that's going to change and if there's anything they can do to make that change. As I said before, every platform makes some decisions, and they can decide to take you off and can decide to keep you on. In this case, they decided to take them off. So yeah. Any other thoughts, questions? Any thoughts or questions from anyone else before we go? I know I asked this about 10 minutes ago, but more thoughts and questions came in. So we're not going to go until we answer all of your thoughts and questions. But I see Traverse Culture just joined. Shout out to you guys over there. African Stream was kicked off of YouTube, so I'll no longer be going live with them every Tuesday. So I just saw you join. And so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that to you guys over there at Traverse Culture. Because African Stream was based there in Kenya too, by the way. Awele O says, shows what happens when you rely on the powers to spread your message. Yeah, true. I mean, look, if you decide you want to, but you also have to keep in mind, though, these platforms allow you to have a massive audience, right? It's like when people sell products on Amazon versus selling it on your own e-commerce store. Amazon has a built-in audience. So just by listing a product on Amazon, you have that much more of a likelihood of getting in front of a buying audience than you would if you built a website yourself on Shopify, just put it up on Google, And so I think that's the trade-off, is like you get to be on their platforms to have potentially a broader audience, but then you also are at their whim. And if they decide to make a change, you just have to deal with it, whatever that looks like. All right. Anybody else? No? No one else? Nothing else? All right. So with that, guys, again, no live stream tomorrow. We will potentially be going live again on Sunday and on Monday of next week. So, this coming Sunday and this, 7 days from now, Monday, we will be talking. Now, this is interesting. Vanessa Edwards says, this is why we need our own platform. Yeah, I would say that's true, except for the fact that you still don't get to reach the masses, right? But yeah, so Awele is saying that. And there are a few platforms out there attempting to do certain things that allow you to have more free speech, etc. I think what happens, though, is sometimes those places can become cesspools for all the wrong kinds of people. I think that's one of the complaints about Rumble. That's one of the complaints about Truth Social. I think that people get on there and get a little bit concerned about what you see on there. So Musa55 says, I just joined but don't know what this is about. What this is about is African Stream, the partnership that I have where I go live weekly and we discuss news in Africa, was abruptly removed from YouTube today. And so they are no longer on YouTube, which means I no longer will be live streaming with them for the time being. It's indefinite as of right now. There's no more live stream. The name of the live stream was called This Week in Africa. And as of right now, it ceased to exist. So yeah, that's the situation. That is what you basically missed, and then some more background too as well. That's I gave some background. All right, so in case if there are no more questions, comments, or thoughts, I'll give another minute or so for people to put their questions in the chat. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any thoughts, please do let me know. I think this is it's a pretty serious week. With this kind of news, I have to kind of just reorganize my process and what I'm doing and the content that I'm creating. So but I'm gonna still go live with you guys every week. That doesn't change. I just need to make some adjustments to the other lives that I was doing, the other live streams, I should say. When I say the other lives or things like that, I think people misunderstand what it can mean sometimes. All right, guys. Well, it looks like that's it. No more comments. Make sure you share this with anybody you know who's wondering what has been going on with African Stream. Make sure you share this with them. Also, write in the comments below, what you thought of this. If you're watching this back as a replay, let us know in the comments below of what you thought of this. And then also, too, if you haven't already, subscribe to Authentic African and go follow and subscribe to everything African Stream does. And with that, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you all on the next video.